We're here today to talk about a huge need in our community, and that is the need to train more nurses to take care of the growing and aging community around us. We have a full program and panel discussion arranged for you today. Our hope is to really answer a lot of your questions about the nursing profession and what's needed in today's nursing profession. To get us started this morning, I'd like to introduce to you a man who is committed to serving the Central Texas region, to aligning higher education with the needs of local business and industry, and first and foremost, to the students of ACC and making sure that they have the resources and the education they need to pursue their profession. Please join me in welcoming the President and CEO of Austin Community College District, Dr. Richard Rhodes.
Good morning. Welcome to Austin Community College. You know, our slogan is start here and get there. And we're excited about this today. I want to take time right now to introduce the board members of our foundation. They work very hard to make things happen, to allow scholarships and allow our students to progress. And so let me introduce our board members, starting with the chairman of our board, Corby Jastrow. You're going to hear from him in a little bit, but Corby is here. And then we've got Gigi Bryant is here. And Edwina Carrington, I think she's on her way here. She's not quite here yet, but she's going to be here. Jimmy Ferguson and Butch Hayes. We're going back and forth, kind of, John Hernandez. We stayed over there, okay. And Conan Collier is here. And let's see, John Henry McDonald and Cassandra Wiggins, who's the vice chair. Over here, back over here. And Gita Lal. So give them a hand because they work very hard to make things happen. You know, we also have some of our faculty here from ACC, and we're very proud of our faculty and our staff who work so hard to make sure that they provide the pathways necessary for our students to earn and learn both. And so could I have our faculty from ACC stand up and our staff from ACC. We also have some of our nursing students here who have been ushered out of their class into here. So ACC nursing students, please stand up and take a bow. I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of them in advance, just before this started, and who are about to graduate and go into the local workforce here. And they are tired. I will tell you, they are worn out. Finishing up the semester, 3 more weeks, right? Okay. All right. Also, we have some other either nursing students or will be with us in healthcare areas. And so we've got some representatives here from Austin Independent School District. Where are you? Anybody from AISD? How about San Marcos ISD? I see some pointing. Okay. Austin Can Academy. Okay. And then Westwood High class. Do we have some students from Westwood? Okay. And, but I want to thank you all for being here today with us. It's important what takes place here. My mother was a nurse, so I understand what nursing is all about, I think. Although that was a long time ago, and things have changed. I remember when I was growing up, regardless of what was wrong with you, mentholatum on the throat was what could heal you. And honestly, I still do that. Is that right? Is that the right thing to do? Every day, 10,000 Americans turn 65, and I am fast approaching that. And so I know and I realize the need for health care and for nurses. You know, the older you get, the more you realize how dependent we become on our healthcare systems. There are some of you that I know have a long way to go, but there are some of us that are fast approaching that age. And we need well-trained healthcare attendants, nurses, workers, to make sure that we can maintain our quality of life. And so that's what we're here to celebrate today, are people who are making that happen. You know, there's a game that we play at Austin Community College, and that is whenever we go to a doctor's office, whenever we go to a hospital, dentist's office or whatever, you know, the game that we play is we ask the nurse there, where did you get your degree from? And the surprising thing is the numbers of nurses and aides and dental hygienists who say, I went to ACC. That's where I got my training. You know, and we were just talking about, I was talking to one of the students about the numbers of clinical hours that they spend in rotation, getting their skill sets necessary to be effective. And I think it's like 704 hours of clinical experience. So when our nurses graduate from our programs, they are ready to go to work and ready to be productive in our hospitals. I just have to tell you one thing. I went to my dermatologist about a year ago, and you know, after she burned my face quite a few times because I was a bad boy, I didn't wear the sunscreen that I was supposed to, and when she got done, she was getting ready to walk out the door, and she said, I noticed you work for ACC. What do you do there? And I said, well, I'm the president there. And she immediately got this big smile on her face. And she went over, she closed the door again. She came back, and she said, she sat down, and she said, I just have to tell you, the students who graduate from ACC are the best. She said, I hire nurses from other institutions, and I won't name them. She did. And I hire nurses from ACC. And by far, the students who come out of ACC are the ones who are ready to go to work, and I don't have to spend any time training them. The other nurses, I have to spend some extra time training them. So we are very proud of the program at ACC and what our faculty and staff and our students do together. You know, it's my pleasure now because I'll thank Kinnser in a little bit, but I just want to say that, you know, if it's not for people like Kinnser stepping up to the plate and investing, because that's what it is, it's an investment. It's an investment in students, and that makes a difference. You know, oftentimes when I talk to students, there are programs like federal financial aid, Pell Grant programs, that help to pay for some of their costs of education. And that's considered an entitlement program. You know, students believe that, you know, that they're entitled to that if they're in a certain economic class. But when people put scholarships on the line, that's an investment in a life, in a person. And we often in higher education, we use a lot of data, and we talk about the data, numbers of students, numbers of graduates, numbers of the completers, and this and that. But behind the data, there are faces, there are people, there are individuals. And the investment that comes from people like Kinnser into our students truly change the demographics of the area, the community that we serve, and it produces something that is unheard of. And that is people who know that they've been invested in, people who are going to recommit to the community, who are going to reinvest in the community, and that's what happens, and it turns the whole demographics of a community around. So I want to say thank you up front for that. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the chair of our board, who is Mr. Corby Jastrow. Corby is one of those guys that has a vision for the foundation. He's got a passion that he spends a lot of time in the community bragging about and talking about ACC and raising funds for ACC. He also has wisdom beyond the years that he shows on his face. You know, he is not one of those people like me that is fast approaching age 65. He is just a young buck. And so please join me in welcoming Corby Chastro.
Well, good morning. Before I begin, individual here that keeps the foundation on board, keeps us moving in the right direction, our executive director, Stephanie Dempsey, who's in the back there. A round of applause, Stephanie. I've been able to work on many different boards throughout my business career here in Austin, and we've got a great group here and a great foundation board, but a great leader in Stephanie, so thank you. I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of the Austin Community College Foundation Board of Directors. The students here today are the reason why the ACC Foundation Board works tirelessly throughout the year. Our goal is to take away the financial barrier many of our students face and the barrier that can keep them from reaching their goals. The foundation has raised more than $12 million to support students at ACC. Today, our endowment stands at $4.6 million, and we award over $600,000 in scholarships annually. With good friends like Kinnser Software, we will be able to reach our goals and award more scholarships for many years to come. We at the ACC Foundation Board take higher education very seriously because it's our students, those here in the room today, who are the next in line to take the title as our future leaders of the great state of Texas. A quick note about the Kinnser Scholars Program. The program began in the fall of 2011, focused on nursing students at ACC. Since that time, 52 $2,500 scholarships have been awarded, totaling $130,000. It is my great pleasure and my honor to introduce Chris Hester, President and founder of Kinnser Software, and thank him for his generous commitment that has truly changed the lives and made our region's economy so much stronger. Chris is very passionate about his clients creating cutting-edge products and world-class customer service. He has broad knowledge of the healthcare sector and committed to home health and post-acute care models addressing the nursing shortage here. Chris is a proven entrepreneur and leader who has built Kinnser Software to be a successful business while attracting top talent and making it a fun place to work here in Austin, Texas. Please help me welcome our good friend, Mr. Chris Hester.
Hey, good morning, all. Thanks, Corby. I appreciate that. Thanks, Dr. Rhodes, for making this happen this morning. I'd also like to quickly thank the panel and introduce them. We have Daniel Bastillos, Joanna Fideli with us. Those are both ACC graduates. They went through the Kinnser Scholars Program. Their perspective will be very interesting this morning. Pat Raychek is the Dean of ACC's Health Services. Denise Gerasi is a good friend of mine. She's a Kinnser customer. She brings a wealth of home health experience and post-acute health care experience to the conversation, as well as Jessica Ruiz from Westminster here in town. So there are things that you're proud of in your professional career, and then for me, there's days like today. Kinnser Software is a great organization. I founded the company 10 years ago, really focused on improving the healthcare delivery, specifically in home care. We've expanded into hospice last year. And understanding that need, we really got to know nurses in a way that I never really set out to do. They're a set of professionals that wear their hearts on their sleeves. They're emphatic about the care that they deliver. And it was really easy for me to get behind their mission and figure out how to make their work lives better. At the core of what Kinnser Software does, it's software. It's an electronic health record. We maintain patient charts, we bill claims, we handle financial reporting. But what it really is it's an embodiment of our efforts over 10 years' time to make the work lives of home care clinicians more efficient. There's a reciprocal between the amount of time a home care clinician is going to spend with regulatory burden and documentation and stuff that matters, but not in a way of spending time with a patient and that time teaching about a new drug, teaching about fall prevention in a home. My grandmother is taken care of by one of my customers, and she has onset dementia, and a whole lot of that care is really fall-proofing the house and doing things far outside of what you would think about as traditional nursing. These are real-world skills that just matter every day. So as a mission for Kinnser, it's very easy to get behind these guys and help them figure out how to do what they do better every day. And Kinnser Scholars really lines up with that. I mean, we're helping nurses, but when you get up and come to work every morning, you want to support people that you get excited about. And Kinnser Scholars is that notion on the software side, but putting that same investment and that same effort behind people. As there, a couple facts got mentioned earlier. There are 10,000 new Medicare beneficiaries coming online. And what that means is every day, 10,000 new people turn 65. There were 10,000 birthdays today, and those were 65th birthdays. And we can't scale the type of health care, the delivery network that we have today. It simply doesn't scale to the number or the type of the amount of care that we're going to have to provide in the coming years. And so more and more care will move into post-acute settings, and much of that care will be delivered by allied health professionals, LVNs, RNs, many of the people that Kinnser Scholars supports. What that means is that nurses in the coming years will be asked to do more and more. Today we have a very regimented, we have physicians and we have physicians assistants, we have nurse practitioners, and we have nurses and LVNs, RNs and LVNs. And what we'll find is more and more responsibility will go into what are allied health professionals today. That's just, it's a function of the magnitude of the work effort that lies before the healthcare industry in the coming years. So a little bit about how this scholarship came about. In 2011, Kinnser's doing great. We're looking around. We're starting to make philanthropic investments in the community. It's done some stuff at Austin Children's Shelter, great organization. And we wanted to find something that really lined up with Kinnser software. And immediately, just without much, there wasn't this big group of 10 opportunities that we culled to 5, to cull to 2 finalists, and then ACC won. We started with thinking about ACC. We got in touch with them. We got to know them. We learned about the nursing program. The way that ACC approaches their nursing program is much like we support or we approach building software at Kinnser. It's iterative, it's real world, and it meets a very current need. These aren't 10, 12, 15-year investments. ACC nursing students that graduate provide an immediate impact in the community. They are hired by great organizations in town, Dell Children's, Seton, and many of the home care industry, many of the home care agencies here in town. And we like that. We like the immediate impact that the Kinnser Scholars Fund was able to do. So in 2011, we committed to a $225,000 commitment over a number of years. I think it was 5 years. And in 2013, last year, Kinnser as an organization turned 10 years old. We too had a birthday. And Kinnser's, we've moved a lot in the last couple of years, and we wanted to look back and say, hey, what do we want to recommit to? We're going to be around for a long time. What are the sustainable things that we can do in the community? And there was never a conversation about, we wanted to do more, but there was never a conversation about doing something elsewhere other than with ACC. We loved the program, we loved the output, we loved the students that were benefiting from the scholarship, so we wanted to recommit to Kinnser Scholars. There's a short film that we put together that I'd like to share, and it shares Kinnser Scholars from a couple different perspectives. It certainly shares it from my perspective, but it also shares it from the students' perspective and the faculty's perspective and even some of the employers' perspective. So I'd like to share that with you guys now.
My name is Chris Hester. I founded Kinnser Software in November of 2002 to support the home care industry. In 2002, I met a gentleman in Houston that owned 3 home care agencies, and I got enamored with their mission, and that from day one motivated me to get behind these agencies and help them do their work better.
What Kinnser's allowed us to do is to truly go electronic. We're 100% electronic medical records and charting in the field, and that gives our field staff great flexibility and freedom. It allows your company to be able to focus more on patient care and things that make a difference in people's lives.
We and I personally have had the opportunity to work with a great number of nonprofits in Austin. But for Kinnser's mission, I want the centerpiece of our philanthropy and part of the company's perpetual mission to support the Kinnser Scholars Program at ACC.
Last year was a very tough year for me, and then I found out that I had just been accepted to do my last prerequisite here at ACC. And so I thought, if I get into the program, how am I going to afford the program? How am I going to get through this? And so I went through their website and I found out there was this scholarship available.
I think all students need help, and the ability for us to take this gift and focus it on the industry that we know has a high demand. There are 10,000 new Medicare beneficiaries that come online every day. And the only way that we'll be successful is with post-acute healthcare, allied health professionals really stepping up and doing more than they've ever been asked to do in the past.
Our business definitely feels the nursing shortage. When recruiting for nurses, you have to be very fast acting to make sure that you get good candidates because they have so many job opportunities.
And community college students in particular are typically juggling more than just the education.
I'm currently working 2 jobs. I mean, of course, financially it helped me, it gave me more time, and it also took some of the pressure off of me because I didn't have to worry about how am I going to pay for this semester, how am I going to pay for these books.
One of the biggest parts of healthcare are nurses. Doctors play a big part in that, but there's a lot more nurses needed.
It's important, and we need good nurses, and we need a lot of them.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment of LVN and LPNs is projected to grow 25% from 2012 to 2022, which is much faster than the average of all occupations.
There's many people that will tell you that if we don't get this problem right, how we care for the elderly over the next 20 to 30 years could become a civil rights issue in a way that we don't think about it today. I mean, it's a big deal, right? We all care for our loved ones in a meaningful way, but there's a whole lot of people that are aging that don't necessarily have the infrastructure that we do. And post-acute healthcare is gonna fill that void, and if we don't, then there's nobody else out there to take care of these people. If we can help facilitate that, then it's a really good reason to continue to get up and come to work every day to fund Kinnser Scholars.
What we've noticed about the nurses who've come out of the ACC program that we work with is that their clinical skills are really strong, and we attribute that to the hands-on learning environment that ACC has.
Probably my favorite aspect is the fact that we got to go right on from level 1. We started working with patients within the 2nd week.
Having gone from ACC into the hospital, you realize the ACC clinical hours are so much more.
Lots of hands-on experience. It definitely makes you feel comfortable.
I'm so thankful that they really did prepare me. I feel prepared.
These are people that can enter the program and in a very short period of time be out of the program and out adding value to the community using the skills that they've learned at ACC.
I am very excited to have my job at Westminster Manor.
Thank you for helping me achieve my dream of being a nurse in the ICU. I can't thank you enough.
Gives you some context and makes it, shows you how easy of a decision it is to get behind ACC's nursing program. Much like the stories that you saw there, we get a great number of letters from scholarship recipients, and it brings it back home to the human element, and you learn about these stories, and they're each a little bit different, but thematically there's a prevailing theme of gratitude, of enthusiasm about seeing the opportunity and the way that they can contribute very quickly with the education that they receive from ACC, and that makes it very easy to continue with the mission, continue with the commitment to ACC. There's a couple of Kinnser Scholars with us today. I'd like to, if you guys would stand up and remain standing. Kelly Jones is with us this morning. Nathan Nance, Melissa Prinz, Daniel Bastillos, and Joanna Fideli. You guys too. Thank you, guys. Thanks. And Corby, if you join me again, I'd like to present the check. So I don't know if we actually, if I said the number earlier. Originally, we committed $225,000 to Kinnser Scholars. Today, through the next number of years, we're upping that commitment to $1 million. And that, yeah. I can tell you we're so proud to be able to do it, and that will enable 400 students to go through ACC's nursing program, so we're really excited about that. While he's grabbing that, sincere thanks to the students. You guys are why we all come to work. The driving force is enabling you guys to go out and be a really important part of our community, and we have sincere thanks for that.
If you don't mind, one more hand for Kinnser Software and the Kinnser Scholars Program. You know, it's not every day that $1 million is donated for such an extraordinary cause, and I don't know if you heard that, but this means 400 new nurses taking care of us as we get older, and those of us who are my age taking care of my parents, and that's huge. A personal note, my mom right now has Alzheimer's, and I live it day in and day out, and I know the commitment that you guys do. And I just want to say, on behalf of one little soul, thank you for choosing nursing, and thank you for caring, and thank you for being here today. It is time now to get the panel discussion going, and it is my great honor to introduce to you our moderator for today's discussion. We're very lucky to have with us an accomplished and recognized nursing leader in the state of Texas. Dr. Stacy Cropley is the Director of Practice for the Texas Nurses Association. She earned her doctorate in nursing practice at Texas Tech. I'm so used to this, I'm sorry, Texas Tech. And she has made a significant impact in the field through nursing advocacy, practice improvements, and professional development. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Stacy Cropley.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure for me to be here with you today. I'm pleased to be with you and focus our discussion on nursing careers, the nursing shortage, and the importance of nursing education. Now more than ever, nurses are needed in all care settings to meet the ever-increasing need for patient care. The demand for nursing stems from an aging population, increased numbers of acute and critically ill, and the increased demands for primary care, health promotion, and disease prevention, resulting from recent healthcare reform and in the anticipated swell of approximately 32 million newly insured. According to the Texas Board of Nursing licensure file for 2011, there were almost 185,000 active registered nurses practicing in Texas, giving Texas a supply ratio of almost 734 registered nurses per 100,000 residents. However, this supply ratio falls very short of the national average, which is 883 registered nurses per 100,000 population. This is provided by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So what does that mean for Texas? Well, it means that our current demand for nurses exceeds the available supply by 22,000 registered nurses. And by 2020, it is projected that the shortage of registered nurses in Texas could be in excess of 70,000 needed RNs. This is significant and stimulates a call to action to recruit new nurses into the profession. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment projections for 2010 through 2020, released in February of 2012, the registered nursing workforce is the top occupation in terms of job growth through 2020. It is expected that the number of employed nurses nationally will grow from 2.74 million in 2010 to 3.45 million in 2020, an increase of 712,000 RNs. The projections further explain the need for 495,000 plus replacements in the nursing workforce, bringing the total number of job openings for nurses due to growth and replacements to 1.2 million by 2020. Now more than ever is a great time to enter the nursing profession. So without further ado, let's move on into our panel discussion. This panel gives students and prospective students an opportunity to learn about the nursing industry, where it's going, career opportunities, and education and training requirements. We have received audience questions in advance, but we will also have a chance at the end for further questions from the audience today. So I am pleased to present our panel to you. I'll just briefly review. I know a lot of you saw their pictures on the video and had an opportunity to meet them earlier, but Joanna Fideli is an ACC graduate from the vocational nursing program and a Kinnser scholar. She is currently employed at Westminster, a retirement community that provides assisted living and skilled nursing care. Daniel Bustillos is an associate degree nursing student and Kinnser scholar, working to become a registered nurse. He also works as a patient technician at Dell Children's Hospital. After graduation, he plans to work in acute care and continue his education to become a family nurse practitioner. Pat Raychek oversees ACC's numerous health career programs as Executive Dean of Health Services Sciences Division. During her years at ACC, she also served as vocational nursing program faculty and department chair. Jessica Ruiz is the Director of Nursing for Arbor Health Center at Westminster. Jessica leads the nursing staff, graduating from the University of Texas at Austin with a bachelor's degree in nursing and master's degree with a concentration in nursing administration. And finally, Denise Gerasi is the founder and president of Health Sense Home Care, which provides a wide spectrum of direct care services to homebound patients. She has a bachelor's in business administration from St. Edward's University. So at this point, we'll go ahead and open the discussion. We have about 40 minutes of questions that were submitted in advance, and then again, we'll open it up to audience questioning after we're through with those questions. So without further ado, let me propose the first question. Why did you enter the field of nursing? Who would like to answer that question? Joanna.
Well, it started out something that I knew that I wanted to do because my mother was a nurse, and so I had a little bit of background in being raised by somebody who has critical thinking skills, which I've learned to just really admire, and I don't feel like there's, a lot of jobs require that, and it's a very important thing. But then I got to Austin from Arizona, and I didn't have time to not take any courses without having to repay my loans. So I was in kind of a rut with time, and the LVN program didn't have a wait to get into it, and I didn't at the time know what the LVN program was or what an LVN was. So I started it, and from that point on, I just immediately knew that it was going to be a huge thing for me and that I was going to love it, and I did.
That's awesome. Any other thoughts? Daniel.
For me, I was kind of already in the healthcare industry or around it all the time. From a very young age, I had a very rare blood clotting disorder, and so it affected me since I was 15. I had a minor stroke, I had 3 heart attacks, I had a bypass done to my right femoral artery when I was 21, and so I was always around having to go in and out of hospitals, and so seeing what the nurses were doing, I saw that doctors would come in, they would spend just a minimal amount of time with you. It was the nurses that were really working with you, staying with you, progressing with you. And so after a while, I just thought this was something that I could really get into, and that's what brought me to the program.
Wonderful. Nurses are definitely one of the most trusted professions, and I can see from your comments that you definitely have reflected that in choosing nursing as a profession. Are there any other thoughts on this particular question?
I find that
Denise.
Of 90% of the nurses that I get to meet, and I meet a lot of people in my business, I find that the majority of them are called to nursing. They kind of wear their heart on their sleeve, as Chris said, and they just can't stop taking care of people. I find that they really love what they do in making a difference in people's lives. And you can tell the difference between people who are called to healthcare, especially nursing, and those like me from the business side. We just don't have that touch. And that I definitely see that if you're a nurse, most of these people, all of them except me are nurses. It is a gift because not everybody has that.
Wonderful. Well, let's move on to our next question. There are large challenges that face new professionals. Do any of you have any thoughts on what some of those challenges might be and what might be done to overcome those challenges?
I think part of the largest struggle I see as I have many new nurses come through. I have clinicals oftentimes. I have a close relationship with a lot of employees who are currently going through nursing programs as well and keep in contact with them. I find that one of the biggest challenges is that transition to practice where this is it. You are in charge, and like we kind of alluded to earlier, is you're a nurse because you care, because you want to give great care to these residents, because you love what you do. And the thought of not doing that well is probably the biggest concern for you as a new nurse. And I think there's a couple of things that really help with that transition, and one of them is having a solid foundation like ACC provides. ACC has clinicals like you were saying earlier, second week of school, you're on the floor, you're getting those skills, you're gaining that confidence, you're gaining those relationships, and that is just insurmountable. That paired with having a community or an institution wherever you go for your first job, making sure that that's the right fit for you, that the culture fits you, that you're going to have some support systems there. And I know we strongly advise everyone to go into mentor programs and have a mentor relationship with a nurse so that you can grow and to be understanding as a nurse executive, to be understanding of that first year and those challenges that you experience and to provide support as much as possible.
That's a really great comment. I think the support that we get from our colleagues and our peers and from our educational experience and our professors is so key to us really doing a good job and flourishing when we get out into practice. Any other thoughts? Yes, go ahead.
I think that the biggest challenge is being able to stay malleable in your way of your professionalism and the core values of nursing and what the things that you were taught in nursing school versus how they differ from the real world, and not only just the real world, but every different facility that there is, which there's a lot, and then just being able to balance that it's really difficult, but the training that ACC provides is adequate in every sense, of the word. So
I've worked with ACC graduates in the past, and I can tell you they are exceptional in every way. They come prepared. They come with morals, ethics, and an educational background that is just incomparable. So it's wonderful what ACC produces here. Other comments? Okay, let's move on to the next question. How is the nursing field changing? What are you seeing in terms of changes in the nursing field? We have such a long history in nursing, and we've seen so many changes and improvements. What do you see as far as that? Pat?
I'm sorry. Well, I'll take that first, because when you talk about history, I've been a nurse for a very long time, happy to say almost 42 years, and wouldn't do anything different. And I think that that's the exciting part about nursing, is that there are so many different opportunities for you in the nursing field. Some of the things that I see changing, and certainly from when I first started to practice, the level of technology that nurses have to deal with to provide patient care, just the advances, the technological advances, all the medical advances that are made and impact the treatment of our patients. But I think someone alluded to it earlier, is that really some of the dynamics of how and where we care for our patients is going to be changing over the next few years also. We're going to see a movement, I believe, out of the acute care setting, which are your hospitals, and trying to do more health promotion, health education, and keeping those patients in their home or in the community setting. And that's going to provide a lot of new opportunities for nurses, because care coordination, ensuring that we are able to provide the varying resources that those patients and families need to support them in that community setting, in their home setting. I think that's an exciting opportunity for the future of nursing.
Absolutely. Any other comments or reflections?
Well, I think that was well said.
Denise?
From an employer's perspective, we're all being asked to do way more with much less in healthcare today. And with the addition of technology and IT, that helps us, but it also comes down to really caring about your skill set, because those patients coming home today are much sicker, more acute than they were yesterday. Everyone's trying to get them back into the home setting or the community setting, and they're coming home with much more difficult situations, and the nurses today really have to be prepared for that and keep their skills current. Like someone mentioned earlier, the professional challenges are keep staying current, making that transition from school to the floor, the whatever setting you choose to work in. So that's a big change happening right now in the world of healthcare and nursing.
I think your comments really reflect on the importance of healthcare workers entering into the field at every entry point. Coming in as nurse aides and LVNs and RNs, we really need all of those healthcare professionals to meet the needs of the patient population that we have before us. Absolutely. Any other comments? Okay. How is nursing education changing to respond to current and future workforce needs? Any thoughts? Pat?
Well, I think that one of the things that nursing programs do is that they really do try to stay abreast of what our community partners, the industry in the community is doing. And so, even though programs have to follow somewhat regulatory guidelines for their curriculum, we are constantly working with our community partners, major hospitals in the area, but all of our community settings, to determine what is the industry standard. What are the students going to need to, what skills are they going to need to have to be that person that can start working immediately when they get into the facility. So we use advisory committees, we meet with a variety of collaborative partnerships to always ensure that our programs are providing the most current skills and experiences that the students need. And we're also very fortunate that we are able to provide experiences for our students with the type of technology that is available in the community setting, so that students have that ability to experience that. We use a lot of high fidelity simulation to enable students to develop those clinical reasoning skills and be able to make the mistakes in a safe environment with our simulation, so that, again, when they do go out into practice, they are in a much better position to make those important decisions.
Thank you. Are there any other thoughts from the panel? Daniel?
Speaking as a student, what we're really seeing now is that in regards to informatics, you can Google anything and people come up and they want to know what's going on, and they see like, oh, I think I have this, or I think I have this. And there's, so many possibilities. So in education right now, what we're going through is we're really trying to do that foundation for our actual knowledge base to know what's going on. It's not just, okay, here's a book, read this section, you're good to go. It's all about going out there, finding those peer-reviewed articles, finding, real-life experience. When you go into your clinicals, you find a patient that, presents differently, and you get the whole group involved. So from a learner's perspective, it's fantastic to be here at ACC because of that.
Absolutely. The evidence base is changing so quickly. So you're right. Having access to those tools is critical for the growth and development of the student and for easy access to the top, most recent research as it pertains to care. So tell me, what makes ACC's nursing programs stand out? Go ahead, Joanna.
Well, that's a very good question because there is a lot that stands out about it from day one. You know, they inform you of everything that you're going to need to do to be prepared, and then from every day onward, throughout the end of the program, you know, you learn nonstop. You learn nonstop, and every instructor that I had through nursing school was amazing. You know, and just the way that the clinical locations are organized is amazing because I got experience at 20 different clinical locations, which is extremely helpful. And, you know,
yeah, I think on top of that, I mean, when you're working with people with your clinicals, I mean, you work with lots of instructors, lots of nursing. You know, sometimes you work with a fresh graduate, sometimes you work with a seasoned nurse, and just that exposure is something that, you know, you can't find anywhere else. They really throw us out there and they try to make you feel comfortable with your patients because they're not going to be there the entire time. A lot of the time you're going to be doing your med administration alone, and because of that you need to feel confident in your skills, and that's something that ACC really instills. I remember the first couple of weeks in clinicals, I'm so used to having a classroom setting where I ask a question and I get an answer. And that's not what we do at ACC. You ask a question and you're told, well, go find the answer, even though you're already on the floor. And so you can't panic. You have to, you know, you just have to pace yourself. And that's fantastic because it's really confidence building. And that's really what's great about this program.
I think what you just said is really reflective of how nurses have to be very dynamic and reactive in the workplace environment and looking for those answers, because there are situations clinically when you might not be able to be given the answer by your peers, and you have to know how to search that out. So that's a really good point that you made. Other comments? Pat?
Well, I have to really brag on both of our nursing programs at Austin Community College. Both the vocational nursing program and the associate degree registered nursing program not only are approved by the Texas Board of Nursing, which is required to have nursing programs in Texas, but they are both nationally accredited by the Accreditation Commission for the Education of Nursing, which is a voluntary accreditation, but it holds the programs to very high standards and requires a lot of dedication and work on the part of the programs and the faculty. And in addition to being accredited, I just want to put a plug in for vocational nursing. Out of 95 LVN schools in the state of Texas, there are only 2 that are nationally accredited, and ACC's is one of those 2. Both of our programs, graduates of both the LVN and RN program, have to take licensure exams in order to become licensed in the state of Texas, and both those programs have consistently very high pass rates, which means graduates, when they graduate from the program and take their test, they pass on the first time so that they can then begin working either as an LVN or an RN. And our programs consistently exceed national and state means every year, nearing 100% many years. So we're really very proud of the nursing programs.
Other comments?
Just as a community involved, as a community partner, I just really want to emphasize the amount of clinical preparation and just the clinical experience that the ACC students have. I've partnered with many different institutions, I won't name any, but ACC's clinical instructors really, you know, they work early on. They're reaching out to me a month in advance and planning their, you know, strategizing for how they're going to utilize their students during that time, coming in, spending time with them on the floor, utilizing opportunities to do some hands-on teaching, taking students to the bedside, going through skills with them. It's a level of commitment and involvement that sometimes, unfortunately, you don't see with some other educational institutions. So I just have been thoroughly impressed by ACC's clinical standards.
Right. The lab here is awesome. The skills lab is just great here. And on a personal note, I love that the program teaches the nurses to think. You would be amazed. It is a skill that sometimes you have to teach, and nurses who think when they're presented with problems for us in the patient's home, it's so important because you're by yourself in the home setting, and you have to think on your feet. And if you don't have the answer, which can sometimes be the case, you have to figure out who can you reach out to get answers. How can you solve this problem? What is the thing you need to do? And most of the time, the doctors are looking to you for the answers. They're going to say, so what do you see? Tell me what the patient presents, and they're not really going to say what do you suggest. They're going to expect you to offer some solutions. So they love to hear that you're prepared for that. I love it personally because that's the last thing you want to worry about is somebody who can't handle that crisis situation when something goes bad. So thank you, ACC, for preparing our students.
Wonderful. So tell me, how do you translate what you learn in the classroom here at ACC or in other educational settings into that clinical success? Any thoughts? Daniel. Oh, Joanne, go ahead.
I think that they ingrain core values at the very beginning of the program that stick with you, and the core values are really important. And it's all about it's character building profession, and if you spend night and day studying and actually practicing everything for a year and a half, it's a huge plus.
On top of which, the first thing we're taught, the first thing we have to check off on is how to do a general assessment and how to recognize right away if there's something wrong, like something that's not right. And so when you're in the classroom, you're working on that for the first 2 weeks. That's just all this is what this should sound like, this is what you're going to expect. And so when you take your first patient, it completely translates. You do your first evaluation, and then you go to your professor and you say, you know what, I listened to the lungs, it doesn't sound right here, there's something going on. Even though I might not know what's going on, I know this isn't right. And so that's kind of what you do throughout the entire program as you build skills.
Wonderful, wonderful thoughts. Any other thoughts from the panel? Pat, did you have a comment?
Well, I think that it's really important, all the things that the students and graduates have indicated. I do feel like our programs really prepare the students, but we also work very closely with our community agencies, our industry partners, and encourage our students to work with their employers to establish kind of a transition to practice setting. It is different going from being a well-prepared student to being an employee, but I think having that dialogue when you're looking for a position, but also we work very closely with our partners to help facilitate their programs that they may have in their facilities to help students as they actually onboard into actual practice.
Wonderful. So there are many healthcare settings where nurses can work. We talked about that a little bit today. It might be difficult for some nurses to transition from one setting to another. What are your thoughts on that transition from one healthcare setting to another within the professional career? Any thoughts? Denise?
Well, the settings are interesting. You definitely will start in a hospital setting because that's where you're going to learn the most real-world application of your skills in a very fast-paced environment. And you'll come across a lot of different people who'll help you along the way, and each person's going to be able to show you something new and unique about how to take care of your patients. And then, of course, then the next setting would be the skilled nursing facility, and I think you might be able to share a good bit about that.
I'll go ahead and take over now. I think a lot of it with the transition for long-term care in particular is you're dealing with 1 to 30 type of ratio on average. You have, and as the LVN, you are the charge nurse, you are in charge of that floor. So you're also taking in the CNAs and med aides as kind of your eyes and ears as well. And that's something different than what you have in the hospital setting, where you might have a different ratio ranging between 1 to 4 to 1 to 8, maybe even 1 to 10 at most, and having a patient care tech. So it's a completely different dynamic. Again, I think ACC does a great job of like y'all mentioned earlier, I think 20 different clinical sites that y'all gone to. So you kind of get that plethora, you get the range of all the different setups essentially that you can have in healthcare. And they're all pertinent and they're all important. And I don't think there's necessarily a right way or a wrong way to start. Hospital versus, going straight to long-term care, they both have their strengths and benefits and things like that as well. But it's definitely, different. I think the biggest thing you can do as an educational institution is provide as many opportunities as possible.
Once you've gone through an acute setting and then a long-term care setting, then you're eligible really to kind of go into a more independent setting like the home, whether it's home health or hospice, because you do work alone as opposed to on a floor with other nurses. So the transition between those different types of settings is going to be, in my opinion, better if you start with the more acute setting and work into more of an independent setting like in the community. But the opportunities for different job types are tremendous. In my business alone, nurses are direct patient care supervision, coding, regulatory review, quality assurance, and that's all these different hats a nurse can wear in just one company. And then you have all the different settings out on top of that. So, and there's so much to learn in healthcare about different aspects of the work you do, whether it's direct care or indirect work through, regulatory or QA or coding or supervision. So there's tons of opportunities.
I think that's actually one of the great things about nursing. I think it's a large reason why a lot of us go into nursing. We like the idea. I personally went from pediatrics to public health to geriatric care, and I've loved I've loved all of it. And I've definitely found my niche with geriatric care. I'm passionate about what I do, but that is one of the great strengths of nursing, is that you do have that opportunity. And if you have that solid foundation in your education and confidence in your skills and the compassion in your heart to do a good job and the will to do a good job, you're going to be successful wherever you go.
Right. Yes, go ahead, Joanna.
Yeah, I feel that way about the foundation of why I am so able to move from location to location, is because there is like an underlying amount of similarities between a lot of them, even though they are very different. And, in nursing school, you have to, get used to one setting and then move, and it gets really tough, when you don't even know any of this yet, and so then to experience that, over and over and over and over again, at the end of it, you see how it comes full circle, and it's really amazing, because throughout each rotation, you're scared. You're really scared, and then at the end of it, you're like, you're just, at the end of it, I just remember being like, oh, I get this. I get it.
Yes. Other thoughts?
Well, one of the things that I'd like to emphasize that I think all of our nursing programs emphasize with their students, there are so many opportunities in nursing, even exciting things like working on a cruise ship, and that sounds fun to me. But nursing education, you can become a nurse educator, which is really an exciting field, because we get to work with these wonderful students, and we always say, oh, we saw the light bulb come on, and that's real satisfying. One of the things about nursing, though, is that really it is going to be lifelong learning. These students have either just graduated or will graduate very soon, but they have not stopped learning, and they will never stop learning, because nursing is one of those fields that we don't really even know what all the opportunities are in the future. We're excited that there is a new medical school that's going to be opening in this area. I look at the Dell Children's. I started out in pediatrics, and look at Dell Children's and go, I wish I would have had the opportunity to do that, what's available there. So we don't really even know what the opportunities are going to be. So students will start at whatever point that works for them, whether it's CNA, then LVN, RN, BSN, MSN. Anywhere along that track, they're going to make a huge difference, but they're never going to stop learning. They're going to have to continue to learn no matter what they do. But I think the opportunities are going to be out there. It's really exciting for the future.
Y'all have really reflected on so many different opportunities in nursing, and the theme that I'm picking up throughout each of those is that you have to embrace that learning in each new setting, because there's so much before nurses to learn, and going in with an attitude of where can I find that answer is probably the best stance a nurse can take in every new environment. We have time for one last question before we open it up to the audience. So the last question is, nursing comes with many emotional demands and physical demands. How do you handle that? Go ahead.
I think that, through nursing school, I did a lot of meditation and yoga. But I think the most important thing is actually really being about it. And, when you leave, clinicals, and you're dead tired from studying all night and this and that, you don't just drop everything and back to my normal life. You really have to be about it, because then the more that you think about ways in which you hold on to resentment, or you're disorganized, or all these different things, you adjust to it, and then once you kind of transition into the whole lifestyle of that comes with it, then it's a smooth ride if you embrace it.
Other thoughts?
I think you really need to, when you're working with people in your clinical, you need to get to know them and lean on them and trust them, because they're the people that you're going to see in and out that entire year or those 2 years that you're here in the program. And life happens. It's going to be really hard sometimes. I know I lost my mom right before I started nursing school. I didn't know if I was going to even be able to start, but I had to keep going, and I had friends that encouraged me. And we're doing the same thing right now for somebody else in our clinical. She just lost her dad last week. And it's hard. You're going to have those moments where you're like, I can't take this. I just can't keep going. And that's when you lean on your friends and say, no, we're going to get through this. We're going to work those extra hours. We'll find the time. And it's like she says, it's about finding that commitment.
Mm-hmm. Other thoughts?
I think
compassion fatigue in healthcare is a pretty big issue. If you're a nurse or in health, you're a caregiver in healthcare, you're spending your entire day taking care of somebody else, putting other people's needs before your own, and that can be tiring. And if you're not very careful about how you manage your own personal stress and how you deal with your own compassion fatigue, then it could lead to burnout, and that's something you definitely want to work against throughout, from the beginning of your career, wherever your journey begins throughout the entire path, that you actually realize you have a duty to yourself, to take care of yourself. And the better you take care of yourself, the better you're going to be available for your patients. We see, in home health, when you're in the home, you're there for that patient, and then you leave that home, you go to the next patient, and then you go to the next patient. All day you're dealing with all different kinds of things: traffic, people calling you, doctors calling you, their nurses calling you, wanting stuff from you, the patient and their families calling you. Everybody wants something from you, and this is happening all day long, every day. So it's really important to take time out for you. And if you're with a good employer, they're going to help you do that.
I think those are some really great comments. I think the importance of self-care and finding your supports, especially as you're going through school and balancing school and your home life and your work life, that's a lot to juggle all at one time. So paying attention to yourself and your own self-care and relying on the supports in your life are important going through that whole process. Well, I'd like to take this opportunity now to open up to the audience for any additional questions that might be burning in your minds. Yes.
You want to use your mic? I'm sorry. Would you use the microphone? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. I wanted to ask you, Jennifer, you seem to be very confident with ACC and their clinical institutions. as far as how they do their rotations, and I was curious whether or not you minded disclosing what other institutions you've partnered with.
I have very strong relationships with both UT and ACC. I have at times allowed other newer programs. Now that we have the nursing shortage, sometimes there's lots of programs that pop up that may not necessarily have the same support and the same foundation as ACC and UT have. And some of those clinical rotations haven't gone as well. You know, and a lot of it's because of just commitment of instructors and getting the right team on board. I wish them the best of success in the future. I just think it's, you know, sometimes scrambling to try to fix this problem or address a need, and not having the framework and the foundation that some of these other institutions have developed, like ACC and UT.
Thank you.
Other questions? Right here. Yes.
Hi. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for your comments today because it's very inspiring. I have a bachelor's in business administration that I earned almost 17 years ago, and I've been in the business world, but I've had a calling for the last few years to go into nursing. But there are barriers to entry, you know, paying for it, getting the information of what's the best program. Is it a second bachelor's degree program, or, you know, should I go into healthcare administration and not into direct care? So I'm wondering, based on the varied experience that you have and backgrounds, what advice would you have for somebody at my point wanting to move into nursing?
Go ahead.
I'll speak a little bit. I think, you know, it's really important to seek out counselors, you know, educational counselors, both at various programs, and just see what the right fit is, look at the options, look at what's best for you and your family. It really is a personal choice and a personal decision. For me, I always had a calling to nursing. I also had kind of a background in business growing up with my family, and was always comfortable and keen to that, and was interested in kind of balancing both. I looked at it as the opportunity for me I wanted to have the clinical skills because I wanted to be able to jump in there if I need to, and that has happened when a night nurse gets in a car accident, something happens, there's no one else to come in, and I'm the floor nurse for the night, and I like that I'm able to do that. And quite frankly, it's really fun and rewarding to get there and do that direct care aspect as well. But I look at it as, you know, in the business side, as a nurse, you can take care of, when I was in ICU, 1 to 2, you take care of 2 patients at a time. In public health, I was taking care of a community. You know, in long-term care, you know, I have 85 residents in my skilled nursing community, 22 in AL, 350 total residents on campus. And you look at that impact and the ability to lead that and to help support nurses like Joanna. It's kind of similar to what you might experience in the education realm of being able to support people and give them the resources they need to provide the care that you would wish for your family as well. So it really is a personal decision. Reach out to people if you would like. I'd be happy to get your information. We can sit and talk too.
And also in the practicality, I mean, that bachelor's that you have right now, there are programs that will accept it and have you go through a fast track program with nursing where you'll get through it within a year. I have a cousin who had a bachelor's of arts, and she decided she wanted to be a nurse, and she'll graduate this coming December, and she just went through the program in Dallas for a year. So there are places that will accept that. Don't feel like that's, you know, that you've done that for nothing. I mean, that's a lot of work there, and they give you life experience too, so there are programs to look at.
The Institute of Medicine put out a report in 2010 called The Future of Nursing. And in that report, they looked at entry level into nursing. They looked at moving nursing education to bachelor's preparation, while at the same time recognizing the need for every nurse in every role at every educational preparational level. I think that in terms of your question about employment opportunities, it depends on the organization and the facility. So for example, if you're looking at an acute care setting, some acute care settings are magnet program recognized, and those programs encourage all of their nurses to have a bachelor's degree. Having an ADN degree and looking to get employed at that hospital, they would take you on and encourage you to matriculate into a BSN program. So it really depends, but there are tons of opportunities out there for nurses at every entry level, and it is a personal choice about, you know, where you would like to invest your energies. If you want to get right into nursing as soon as possible, you know, the ADN may be a better route for you. But if you're looking to take that bachelor's degree that you have already and jump that into a fast-tracked program into a bachelor's of nursing, that's a possibility too. Other thoughts?
Well, I'd like to kind of just piggyback on that in that there are multiple opportunities for graduates depending on at any level. Even there's programs, ACC has what's called an LVN mobility track. So if you're a graduate of the LVN program, one more year you can get your associate degree. We have articulation agreements with several major four-year universities so that students, once they graduate our associate degree program, usually it's another year and they can get their bachelor's in nursing. And again, the programs encourage that lifelong learning. We provide information about that. We encourage students to look at that role. And also as ACC, we're always looking at other opportunities for us to be able to provide continuing education for all of our graduates. Graduates can start as a nurse aide, become an LVN, get their associate degree, go back and get their bachelor's, get their master's, and their PhD. I'm going to embarrass her, but we have one of our very own faculty who's sitting in the back. I won't make her stand up, but we always highlight her. She was a graduate of our LVN program, and she was a single mother, 4 children. She graduated from our LVN program, then went to our mobility track and got her associate degree. And then she went back to Texas Tech and got her bachelor's, and then went back to Texas Tech and got her master's, and now is a full-time faculty in the vocational nursing program at ACC. So we're really, you can start wherever you need to. And if she's not embarrassed, I'm going to ask Melissa to stand up. We're so proud of her. But I think that highlights, you can start here and get wherever you want to go. And I think she's already thinking about a doctorate program. So you can, as Jessica said, it really is a personal choice. You have to look at your family, you have to look at your resources and really investigate, but you don't ever have to stop. You can get wherever you want to go in nursing and start wherever you need to start. And I think that's an important message. We saw a whole group of students come in after the introduction, so you know, there's lots of opportunities.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions? Let's go over here to this gentleman in the second row.
I was also going to interrupt. If any of the high school students upstairs have any questions, come up down here and line up next to the photographer.
That would be great. Y'all come on down, ask your questions. Right here in the second row with the tan shirt.
Thank you. Not sure how to work a microphone very well. I'm already in the healthcare industry. I'm actually a paramedic, graduate of the ACC program here. I have an associate's in EMS. I've been doing it for 8 years now. Since then, I've actually been blessed. I've worked offshore on oil rigs. I've been a medical care provider out there, pretty much the doctor on oil rigs. I've worked on drilling barges. I've worked in 911 environments, and currently I'm on a critical care transport truck here in Central Texas. I guess my question is for Ms. Denise. We briefly spoke about the opportunities of ASNs coming out of the ACC program, and I have several friends who are here locally who have talked about the transition from ASN to BSN, and a lot of the larger networks, shall we say, just to be blunt, are kind of discouraged possibly from hiring ASNs because they really want that BSN. In the home health environment, are you still willing to take, I know earlier you said that you were looking for someone who had had that acute care already. Are you still looking for that acute care experience, or are you looking to be able to possibly hire someone off the bat who
Well, in the
has
state
the
of
ACN.
Texas, home health agencies are required to to hire folks who've had at least a year of direct care experience in nursing before they come into home health. What we find, though, in terms of the type of candidates that we work with, the peer credibility amongst the nurses is that whether you're, is it an ASN or BSN, it doesn't matter. What it really comes down to is, do you know your stuff? I've got nurses who went through the 2-year program here at ACC, and they're like the guru on wound care. And every nurse in our company, whether they have a bachelor's or a master's in nursing, they go to this woman and they say, hey, talk to me about this wound because I know you know this the best. So it really comes down to each person's level of continued learning and proficiency on specific skills. And that, on the floor setting, from what I've seen, is what builds other nurses' respect for you and how well you do. Once you gain that, then it's like, oh, wow, this is the person you need to talk to. But for home health, we do have to have nurses who've worked for at least a year in any setting, whether it's acute or long-term care, pediatrics, or whatnot. Mm-hmm.
We have time for one more question. We will go to this lady here in the striped shirt. And I apologize for those of you that didn't get an opportunity to ask a question. I'm sure the panel will be available later if you can catch up with them. Go ahead.
Hello. I am aware that there's a very limited number of seats available each semester for the nursing program. Due to the strong need for nursing, does ACC have any plans on expanding the program to allow more students into the program each semester?
Pat, would you like to?
I will take that question. Fortunately, we do have strong applicant pools. The number of graduates that we are able to take is somewhat influenced by a variety of factors, that include the number of qualified faculty that we have, but also because of the strong clinical components to our programs, we have to ensure that we have appropriate and adequate clinical placements for all of those students. So that sometimes is a factor in identifying the number of students that we can actually accept each semester, because we have to coordinate clinical placements with the other nursing programs in the local area. We are continuously exploring other opportunities or options to perhaps look at different clinical times, et cetera, to be able to increase enrollment. But those are some of the things that influence how many students we can take.
I'd like to thank the audience for their participation in the questions, and I'd especially like to extend a thanks to our panel for their expertise and their knowledge that they've shared with us today. Let's give them a round of applause. We've all been really pleased to come and speak with you today, and we thank you for your participation.